Yeah, we're on live. Well, we're not really on live, but we're recording. That's awesome. Hello, everyone. My name is Vanessa. I am the founder of
Yep.
Humans of Beekeeping. So as I said before, Humans of Beekeeping is a page that I open, and a project that it's still open and still carrying on into my heart and to the beekeeping industry. I visit a lot of different beekeepers in different backgrounds, and I want to make the beekeeping industry and the beekeeping world a bit more closer, and the beekeepers a bit more closer to each other, and understanding within the practices. So today we have my favorite person in the whole wide world. Her name is Leonie. I met you. Was at the Gold Coast conferences, and we were part of a Facebook page, and we had a code to be able to see and recognize each other in the group. And I think what was the code?
Queen bee cages.
Queen bee cages.
And I made so many new friends, both from the group and outside, just by walking around and saying Queen bee cages to people. It was really fun.
Oh, wonderful. You came to me. I was talking with Naomi, yep. And you arrived slowly, and I saw you creeping along towards me. I was like, who's that? And you said Queen bee cages, and I was like, yes! And that hysterical scream came from like both of us.
Yeah, it was beautiful. It was great. It was a real connection.
It was. And I still feel like we're gonna have that connection for forever, because it was a magical moment.
Indeed, absolutely.
So, first question, not first question, but a little bit more about you. Can you introduce yourself?
Sure, I'd love to do that. As Vanessa said, my name's Leonie. I live about 30 minutes south of the Queensland New South Wales border. So I'm in the Northern Rivers district, and I live in a beautiful little old one-teacher school in an area called Dum Dum. So I have the Dum Dum School, and I'm going to hold up my honey here. Now this is just shows you how dum-dum we really are, because it's backwards. But we've got the image of the little school on it, and that's our honey brand, Old Dum Dum School. So I'm right up. I'm at the on the Northern Rivers. I have the Tweed River at my back door, and I look to Mount Warning, which most people will know. Wollumbin, it's the first place in Australia that gets the sun shining on it each morning. So we feel really, really blessed to be in this beautiful part of the world with our bees. Yeah, with the bees.
It's actually magical when you actually told me about Mount Warning. I didn't know about it. Because uneducated I am about Australia, but yeah, your location is magic. Yeah, so can you tell me how long have you been beekeeping, and what attracted you to the beekeeping world?
Sure. I've only actually had bees for, this is my, well, about a year and a half. And, but when I was a child, my parents lived on orchards, and we had beekeepers that used to bring out their bees to our place. And I was always fascinated. So I would go down and watch them at work. I was never invited to join them. And they were always men, they were always boys, so that I think a little girl was something that they weren't used to dealing with anyway. But we sold all different varieties of honey in our roadside stall, fruit stall, and I used to have them all ranged by colour, from the lightest to the darkest, and I would be able to differentiate all the different flavours and taste all different florals. So I knew from the start that I was a very person. And then when I found out from friends that the urban beekeeping groups existed, she did a beginner's course, and I joined up this day and I did my beginner's course. And the first moment that I was in the course and surrounded by bees emerging from the hives, I just felt like I'd come home. I was in just the most beautiful space, and ever since then, I've just been absolutely in love with what I do.
Leonie, I think I have a little bit of a problem with your camera. It has frozen, and
what happened?
Oh, your camera is frozen, and we cannot see it anymore.
Okay. So what do I have to do?
I'm not sure. What type of connection do you have?
Yeah, well, I mean, it is Dum Dum, so we don't have the most brilliant connections. It's still frozen.
Yeah, and the sound is a bit like robotic sound, like.
Okay. Look, I'm gonna hit the red button.
Oh, we've lost. Okay, I'm still broadcasting, but that's okay. So, yes, we have lost Miss Leonie. And I hope she's going to come back in the next 5 minutes. But yeah, so I am going to be... Hello, are you back? I can see Leonie. Yes, are you back?
Yeah, I'm back. Now you're kind of... Oh no, it's getting well, okay, so it's starting to move again now.
Okay. How are you?
So where are we? What do you want to do?
I'm not sure what I want to do. Maybe we're gonna carry on and try to see it. Oh yeah. Try to see if it's gonna get any better. But that's okay. If there is any issue and people cannot understand you, I will ask them to write a question in the comments, and yeah, we will try to respond to them like this. So yeah, you were saying that you're putting the honey in order of colors into the
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and I could taste all the different florals, and I just knew that I needed to know more about the source of honey. So when a friend introduced me to the idea of urban beekeeping and that there were courses available through clubs, I just jumped at the opportunity. And the first time I was out with the club hives and all the bees were just coming out all around me, it was like I was just in heaven. I just loved every moment of it. I've never had any fear or any concern, and I just felt like I'd come home.
No.
Mm.
So you did your course through a club, is that right?
Yep, that was through. Yep, I belong to two clubs: Gold Coast Amateur Beekeeping Society and Northern Rivers. Because I'm so close to the border, I'm very lucky to be able to have a foot in each camp. New South Wales and Queensland.
That's good. That's awesome, isn't it?
It is.
So, what? Just give me a second.
Sure. Oh, nice piano. While you're away.
That's Madeline's new present for Christmas from Santa Claus.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Well, that's special. I'm a musiker as well. I play guitar, so music in your life is exceptionally wonderful.
So my question to you is, what's the greatest tips you can give to a new beekeeper or someone that's thinking to go beekeeping?
Absolutely, 100%. My biggest tip is to look up your local club and become a member, because clubs offer so much training, so many mentoring opportunities, so many people that will meet of all ages, men and women, who just, years and years of experience, and they're so generous, they're incredibly generous people, and so happy to share their knowledge. So that would be my number one tip. Do a beginner's course, join a club, become part of the beekeeping community, and start out then as being isolated. You know, you're part of, you know, bees are a super organism, and beekeepers can be the same. We can all be mentors to each other. So yeah, the bees are too important to start off being naive. You need to be informed.
That's right, and it's I feel like a lot of people are a bit off and turned off by clubs because they see the club's member, and most of the club members most of the time are older people, and it doesn't mean anything. You know, the practices they have is maybe different from the vision that you have within the club. You need those knowledges, first legally speaking, but also maybe you'll be able to find someone that actually is thinking like you, and you'll be able to actually create a bigger community in the beekeeping world.
Yeah, well, it's interesting you say that the clubs are full of older members, because I find with both GCABS, the Gold Coast Club, and Northern Rivers ABA, the range of age is from about 5 to 90, and the gender balance now is just dropped something. The gender balance is it's more and more women coming into the club, and more women, you know, being the beekeepers, not just the wife of the beekeepers, and they're bringing their children into it. So yeah, I actually find that age range is really inclusive. And everyone's learning together, and everybody's mentoring each other, and it's great. I love clubs. I think that they're just, I think that beekeeping has become such a, it's become a bit of a fad. A lot of people want to save the bees and think, okay, I'll get a hive and do that. But if you're going into it completely naive, without that backing of the education and support of your fellow beekeepers through a club or through a good community, local community, then the bees probably don't stand a great chance. Yeah. You may survive despite the mistakes you'll make if you haven't, you know, got some knowledge.
See, that's funny, because not long ago I was talking with a fellow beekeeper of mine. Her name is Sandra. I always want Sarah, but it's Sandra.
Right.
And she's part of a club, and I've been to some of the meetings of that clubs. And, you know, when I say there's more older people, it's very much what's happening within the club we have here. And a lot of people also on the internet say there's a lot of, you know, older people and a lot of men's. That's not really a turn off for some of us, because, you know, like you say, the structure of clubs are different everywhere. But what would you advise to clubs all over Australia, and what do you think some tactics and you know, some forms of change should be done and adopted into the clubs? And
good question. I've seen, you know, in my experience of the two clubs, I know that there has been a split at one point where there's been a division of the older, more traditional, you know, male, should I say, beekeepers who can't cope with the level of change and innovation that's coming in the newer beekeepers, but the splits, you know, it's like the bees. The bees split and they go off and they create a new colony. Well, both of these clubs have had a bit of a minor split, and both of them have come out, I think, stronger for it, because what they're doing is they're now becoming more family-based. And when you join a club, you don't need to go along and that be your only source of knowledge. By joining a club, you become part of the organism, you become part of that community, and you will find people of your age. They're there, and they'll come out more and more. And if you go in as a female and a new beekeeper, then you're going to encourage other females and other new beekeepers and their children to come in. So let the club grow that way. You know, the annual general meeting, instead of electing a committee of eight older people now, we've got, you know, people in their 30s, people in their 70s, people, you know, males and females, and everybody's bringing their own, knowledge, enthusiasm. So, yeah, you know, I think being a part of clubs for me is an absolute must. And I'm not hugely social a lot of the time. I love being in my own space, but I've just found that my mentors in the club they're family, you know, they're just wonderful. So yeah, I'd encourage, join a club, register your hives and join your club. Yeah, and if it's a group of old fuddy-duddies, then help be the transformation, be the change you want to see in your club.
That's right. Be
the change. Yeah.
Well,
yes.
It's wonderful. I have a question for you. Is that what's the funniest moment that has happened in your beekeeping journey?
Well, mine was both the funniest and at the time it didn't seem so funny, but it was also the most painful. We brought in some hives from out in the drought districts. We brought in 16 hives, and we were checking them because the beekeeper, they were starving, and the beekeeper he wasn't well and wasn't able to check them. So we were going through all the hives. They were just in various states of disrepair. A lot of them, some of them were failing. We had to requeen. We combined a few of them. But we got to about hive number 14 out of 16, and we were all a bit hot and tired. We opened this hive, and holy moly, it was like letting off an atomic bomb. There were bees absolutely everywhere, and they were fierce. They were so fierce. So within seconds, we were just absolutely stung all over, our face, hands. Even though we were all suited up, we just, you know, I didn't think that they could sting through 3 layers of mesh, but yeah, they could. So the three of us, we just, you know, all of us who are really calm, gentle people and just love being with the bees, we all just went running, screaming from the scene. Ah! And when I took off my suit, I even had bees inside my suit. I had 16 stings.
Wow.
Yeah, one of the fellows I was working with, and his wife, he had about 4 stings just on his lips. And in about the next 20 minutes, his lips were, you know, went from his chin to his nose.
Oh, wow.
So we laughed and laughed and laughed. But yeah, we were just, it was just the most ridiculous moment. It was crazy.
That leads me to ask you, what do you think you're not good at?
Oh, okay. Oh, well, gee, there's lots of things. Okay, what am I not good at? Well, I suppose I don't feel that I've got enough knowledge yet. So when you were here, like I hate shaking all the bees off. Because I find I don't want to disturb them. But, you know, if I don't shake them out of the lid, then I end up squashing a few as I put the lid on. So, you know, just taking little tips from people all the time. Yeah, I've done courses on pests and diseases. So I know a lot of that in theory. I've done AFB tests, I've done sugar shakes, but I haven't actually faced AFB in a hive yet. I haven't faced, you know, none of us have faced varroa yet. So, yeah, there's a lot of my beekeeping that is still theory because I haven't yet had the, you know, those episodes show up that I've had to deal with. I haven't had to destroy a whole hive, which would just be devastating, but yeah.
And in talking about varroa mites, we are in Australia, and for people that not from Australia, Australia is the only country that is varroa mite free at the moment.
Yeah.
Obviously, know it's gonna happen at some stage, and we had a big conference in June. That's right.
Yep.
At the Gold Coast. It was a great conference, by the way.
Amazing conference.
Yeah, but during that time, I think during the second day of the conference, we had a call from Melbourne Department of
That's right. The Port of Melbourne saying that there'd been an incursion of varroa mite. Yes, that's right. It was a wake up alarm, wasn't it? Huge alarm.
It was very much something very scary to a lot of people. But luckily, they dealt with it, and they followed through for the rest of the year. Was very intense in regard of this, just to make sure there was no any other leftovers of bees and varroa mite around the place. But what's your understanding on the varroa mite, and what type of steps do you think you're going to take when varroa mite arrive to actually, treat your bees?
Yeah, look, they always say it's a matter of when, not if, that they'll reach Australia. I saw the reaction of people at the conference when it was announced that varroa had been found, and there was a mixture of shock. There was also a lot of fear. I didn't feel either of those because, they keep on saying it's going to arrive. So it was just a matter of when. I didn't feel fear because I refused to live my life in fear. But a few things really. I was really amazed at the conference at the level of research that's being conducted in universities on bees in general, but particularly on varroa-resistant bees. So looking for qualities within those bees that may be actually be able to be extracted or bred so that we can increase resistance in other bees. I spoke to a gentleman from Africa who was saying that when it reached Africa, yeah, their population's in huge numbers, but after about 10 years, the bees built up a natural resistance, a lot of them, and they're starting to come back, the numbers starting to come back. So it's going to be devastating when it happens, but there's so much work being done, and we are going to see great losses in our bees. Said to me that at the moment we are dependent on the bees for pollination and food. They don't need us, but once varroa arrives, the bees will become dependent on us for a while. It'll be up to us to be vigilant, to be checking, to be trying to keep the hives safe, healthy, afloat. I also spoke to a gentleman at the conference from New Zealand who said, he was from New Zealand, and he said that New Zealand is very nervous about hive beetle arriving over there because they don't have it. And he said, we live with varroa, but we're really full. And I said, well, it's really interesting because, of course, we live with hive beetle, particularly up here in the hot regions of the country, hot, humid. But we don't have varroa, so our fear is about varroa. And he said, you fear what you don't know, and when it arrives, yes, it'll have an enormous impact, but we will develop and we will grow, and the bees will develop and they will come through this. Like everything, we just have to let nature take its course, and in this case, we're going to see the destruction, and then we're going to see the rise of the bees again. I have no doubt that they will come through this. They are survivors.
Yes, that's right.
We're their greatest stressors, and if they can survive us and survive all of the other pests and diseases out there, they'll survive varroa eventually.
That's true. They, like you say, they're like an organism, and they work all together, and they know exactly how to treat themselves. But my question to you is in regard of the hive itself. Do you often sit next to your hives?
Sorry, what was the question? Do I
sit down next to your hives?
Oh, every day.
Okay, so you would know, and you would hear, and you would feel and smell the difference.
Absolutely.
Variants you have.
Yeah.
Is there one that is very specific to you that you really love, like smell or humming,
Mm.
buzzing, or anything?
Mm. Look, all of the above. When I sit with the bee, when I go to the bees, I call it my Zen time. I just feel, as I said to you before, I feel as though I'm completely in the zone. They're all around me. I love this. I love the sound. I love the fact that when I approach the hives, I can hear them, and that sound increases. I love that that smell of honey, but it's also that slightly acrid, slightly sour smell that you get, and I know it really, really well. Yeah, and it takes me to my happy place as well. I just love watching the colours of the pollen that they're bringing in, and the fact that two hives almost side by side are bringing in different colours, so they're finding different floral sources. And yeah, I can't get enough of just observation. To me is everything. I learn so much by watching, listening, and smelling. I know immediately when I go down if a hive is not queen right, or if a hive's preparing to swarm, because the signals are there, and the pitch in the sound is different to when they're at rest and when they're at ease. Yeah, I love it, and I feel so connected when I'm sitting beside my bees. I cease to be. I'm not an individual anymore. A few years ago, I had a cerebral hemorrhage. I had a blood vessel burst in the left side of my brain, and my brain filled up with blood. And one of the temporary things about that was that I lost my proprioception, which is where your body starts and finishes. So I had this experience of being, my body went out forever. It just, I had no stop and start. And when I'm with the bees, I get that same sort of connection. I connect with beekeepers in the past who sat there quietly and watched their bees. I connect with people like Langstroth and Huber, who were, observing and watching and seeing what the bees were doing and developing, techniques. I connect with all of the nature, and we're lucky to have national parks and conservation zones all around us, because the bees are bringing in, they're out there foraging. I connect with the beekeeping community worldwide because I'm aware that, beekeepers in Europe and America and Africa and all over the world are sitting there watching their hives. So, it's just this sense of community and belonging that I probably love the most. I don't talk about my bees. I don't have a sense of ownership of the bees. They're my hives. I'm a hive keeper, and the bees are wild, and they just are choosing to, allow me to be a part of that existence. And I love that. I love that they give me a window to the world. So that's the most important for me, that observation and the inclusiveness that the bees allow me to be a part of that world.
You just gave me goosebumps. That's like the best way to hand up that podcast. But I have one last question for you.
Sure. Yeah.
Because what you said was very magical, and I don't want people to lose that magic. Then I've been to your place, and I love your paddock. I love the magic you have all around. And we have spoken about your future plans. I ask you what's your 5-year plans, but I think we're going to short it down to what's your
3-year plans. Yeah, well, I've got a little honey stall at the front, which is at the moment is a table, a box, and an umbrella. So the little honey stall will develop into a very pretty little stall and I'd love to have an observation in the back of that, an observation hives, so that people could actually have that experience. I'd also love to develop an agriculture tourism business. We live in an area, people are coming by the 100,000s to see Mount Warning, to climb Mount Warning. It's a really beautiful part of Australia. So, yeah, there's a lot of tourism in our area, and there's so much interest in bees that I would love to have people come to this Old Dum Dum School, to this glorious area, and to actually have a bee experience. So I'm looking into that in developing that in the next year or two, and yeah, more and more mentoring. I've got to the stage now, even though I've been in the game for a fairly short time. I've learned a lot, and I've worked with a lot of other beekeepers, and yeah, mentoring has become very much part of what I do day by day. I have a lot of families come with their children, and yeah, so that's the plan. The stall, apiculture. Oh, a big music stand to have some music concerts here as well. Yeah, because music's another very big part of my life. So yeah, watch this space. Little Old Dum Dum School is going to become a very person and bee centered environment, and everyone's welcome to come and visit and spend time here.
That's awesome. That's great. All right. Well, I want to say thank you so much for. Gosh.
Yeah, this is yeah, that's just a little thing that my husband makes me. That's my bee symbol. That's on my label. Yeah, and yeah, I just wanted to share that with you. So yeah, he makes all these sorts of things. It's beautiful.
Yeah, your husband has great skills in woodworking and like laser. Is that laser cutting?
Yeah, it's actually, yeah, it's actually cut on a router.
Okay, that's right.
Yeah, I'll show you this one, which was another one that he's cut for me. But of course, it's backwards. Yeah, and but yeah, that's got the honeycomb and the bees, and bee happy on it, and that's a piece of camphor timber from the river. The Tweed River at the back of our property. So we go down there, and any driftwood or beautiful pieces of timber that come down the river, we collect, and then we turn them into gorgeous things with a bee theme.
It's gorgeous. It's magical. I like that. I would love to have something saying, you know, welcome to the bee world here.
Yes, we'll have all of that.
Great. So yeah, if you guys need anything, a sign made, so just contact me. We'll leave all your details in the comment box down below. If you want to have a look at Leonie's Old Dum Dum School Facebook page. Do you have a website? I'm sure you do.
No, I don't have a website yet. That's in development. But if you go to the Facebook Old Dum Dum School, and you'll find us. Send me a message, and I'll send you whatever you need to know. The website's on its way.
Awesome. So thank you so much, Leonie. And,
thank you.
Thank you. I will see you soon.
Beautiful.
Bye.
Bye, everybody. Thank you. Bye.